part Pharisee. You understand what I'm trying to get us to see? It's not as clear-cut as it used to be.
Amen.
I'm trying to get us to pretend just for a minute that we're neither saved nor lost, just for a moment. The interesting thing about this subject matter is that Jesus had a battle on his hands. Because Jesus came on the scene and he was neither a Pharisee nor a Sadducee, and he wasn't a scribe. He was the law.
Amen.
And he fulfilled the law. And he knew everybody's thoughts. And the problem is, we mostly think, and they mostly thought from the law standpoint on this side of eternity. Jesus could see both sides of eternity. Now, when Jesus came to these groups, there's a saying called, "An enemy of my enemy is my friend." That's a science fiction quote, okay? But if you look at this in a spiritual context, the Sadducees and the Pharisees would gang up on Jesus to try and make him look ridiculous so that he wouldn't take the crowds away from who was supposed to be in charge of the crowds. They had a Sanhedrin, a council, and these guys got together and they'd argue the points of the law, and they would then bring Jesus into these kinds of conversations. A brother who died had a wife, and the wife had to marry the next son, and then the next son, and then they died, and then at the resurrection, whose wife is she? Well, that's this side of heaven. Because Jesus told them, don't you know, there is no giving of marriage and being married after the resurrection in heaven. And then we had another lawyer who was trying to put Jesus to the test. He said, what's the greatest commandments? And he said, well, how do you read them? Jesus asked a lot of questions, and he'd never really answer the question. He'd answer the questioner. And so he'd take and look at the questioner, know the motive, and then he'd respond in a way that made the questioner figure it out. So Jesus was pretending to answer the question, but he was really talking to the motive behind it.